You're listening to episode 101, Christiana's Story, a son with osteosarcoma. Hello, my friends. Happy New Year. We are episode 101, which is just so crazy and so cool. And I can't think of a more wonderful family to share with you as we kick off the new year, that just really their ability to take an impossible, devastating situation like osteosarcoma. And I do want to give you a bit of a trigger warning that Christiana's son, Nathaniel, has passed away, but in his name and in his legacy, they have created Nathaniel's Childhood Cancer Foundation. And I just want you to listen to their story from the very beginning, when he started having pain and what that looked like, and really how they came to discover that he had osteosarcoma, and also that he didn't battle cancer just once, but twice, and which is what an amazing kid he was. And it's absolutely clear based on who his mother is. So Christiana, I'm so honored and so glad that you're here today, and I can't wait to share their story with you. Well, why don't we just get started with talking a little bit about you and your family and where you guys come from, and just a bit of a background about you guys.
Okay, so I have a husband. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. He had to work. His name is Steven Madruda. We've been married for, 8 years. Been together for 15. We both grew up around the Safford area. I grew up in Safford, and he grew up in Morenci, Arizona. We've lived here our whole lives. Very small community. We had my son, Nathaniel, who we're going to talk about today. And then now we have a daughter named Destiny.
Okay, gotcha. And so do your families know each other? And so it was like did you get together in high school, I'm guessing, if y'all grew up together?
No, it was after high school. Actually,
Okay.
He went to school in Morenci. I was in Safford. But our grandmas live a house apart.
Oh my
So
gosh.
the story I was told was he was doing his usual run past my grandma's house, and he saw me sitting outside, and he knew who I was friends with. So she's the one that kind of got us together.
Oh my gosh, that's really cute. I'm sure your
It's
grandmas were very
nice
excited.
for holidays.
Yeah.
It makes it easy. Like, go Thanksgiving at his grandma's for a little bit, then walk a house down to my. It's convenient.
Oh man. And tell us, how old is Destiny now?
Destiny just turned 7 in July.
Okay, gotcha. So we're going to be talking about Nathaniel today, and probably Destiny a little bit too, and you and your husband. Why don't you take us back to kind of the beginning of Nathaniel's story with osteosarcoma?
Sure. So Nathaniel, he was actually born on March 17th, 2004. He's like my little leprechaun. In August of 2011, he was 7, and it was the day before he was supposed to start his second grade. He came to me that evening. He had been playing with my husband for the last part of the evening, and he said his wrist hurt, his right wrist. And when I looked at it, it was swollen. I thought, he's trying to get out of school tomorrow, and that's not going to happen on my watch. So I told him, well, we're going to the ER now to get it looked at, because you're going to school tomorrow. I don't want to pull you out on your first day. We went to the ER, and the first doctor we saw, she originally said, it's just swollen. It's probably a sprain. Take him home. Ice it. It's not hot to the touch. I said, it actually is hot to the touch if you feel it. So she felt it. She's, it is a little warm. Well, we'll just do a scan just to make sure. I was like, okay. So we sat there waiting for them to come back. It was probably maybe 20 minutes later. It wasn't very long. She came in with about 15 other people. I've never experienced that. I mean, since he started his journey and throughout, I've seen that happen many times, and it's usually bad news, but that was my first encounter with that. So she came in with another doctor. This doctor told me, it looks like your son has cancer. It looks like Ewing sarcoma. I was young. I was 24, so I was shocked. I didn't even know what to make of that at that point. All I knew was my phone was dying and I needed to get my charger. So I asked him if I could just run to my car really fast. I need to get my phone charger. I need to call my parents and my husband and let them know what's going on. So I went outside, and that's when it just kind of hit me. And I remember looking up at the stars, and it was a very clear night that night. And I could see them perfectly. And I was just begging God, please don't let this be cancer. And if somebody has to have cancer, I'll do it. I'll take his place. Please don't, not my son. So then I compiled myself, all my stuff, and composed myself, went back into the room. At this time, my son was screaming because there were about 4 nurses trying to draw blood from him. So I left the room, just sat outside on a chair that they had there, and started making calls to my family to let them know. When I went back into the room, there was another doctor, and he could see that I was crying. And he said, what did you guys tell her? And the doctor said, well, I told her, your son has cancer. And he's like, you can't say that. There's no biopsy. We don't know. We can just say that's what it looks like. There's no definite answer at this moment. So that made me feel a little bit better, because I have a lot of faith in God, and I knew that he could change my circumstances regardless of what the doctors say. So that was the first little bit of hope I got, was from that doctor that told me that they can't tell me for sure it's cancer. I mean, ultimately it was, but that kind of got me through the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of 2 separate things. And one is that second doctor is very right. I mean, I work in an ER, and very rarely do we tell families, I mean, almost never, that their child has cancer in an emergency situation like that. Usually it takes so many scans and the right people and all that. That's a lot. And you want to make sure the family has the right support system around when you give that kind of news. I'm so sorry you went through that in that way. And then I also think, you talk about just being 24. I recently saw this meme the other day that's like, our kids don't know, but they're watching us grow up too. And it's so true. It's so like we're just babies ourselves going through all this.
So true.
So take us from there. What happened? I guess he kind of gave you that reassurance. And did you guys go home from the ER that night? Did you get admitted?
We did. So my mom actually left out of town earlier that day. So she turned around and she came back. My dad lived a couple hours away, so he drove down. And it was a very heavy night, I'll say. You could feel all the emotions in the air. We went back to my house, and we just sat around my kitchen table, and we really didn't say a whole lot. There wasn't anything to say in that moment. We tried to make Nathaniel feel as comfortable as possible, because we didn't want him to know anything was wrong. He heard what the doctor said, but he didn't know what that meant at that moment. The next day we got up super early. I called his pediatrician, who is Dr. Keith. He's amazing. We called him. They got us in right away. And Dr. Keith, he became such a huge support for me. I knew I could count on him for anything I needed. He told us a plan. The plan was to go have a biopsy. He needed a CT scan. Maybe it was an MRI. It's the longer one. Maybe it's MRI. Either way, he needed to have that done to get a better look at what they're dealing with, because the X-ray doesn't show a whole lot. I called to make that appointment, and it was like a month out. I could not last that long. They had a cancellation, luckily, so we got in sooner. It was just a couple days after they first told us he may have cancer. We got to go. I think we went to Tucson for that scan, I believe. Got it done. And then now we had to wait for the surgeon. We had to wait for the doctor that works at PCH to get us into his schedule, which was even longer. About a week and a half after we got that news, I got a call from my mom, who was with my son at the time, and she's like, it looks like it's getting bigger. I went and called Dr. Keith right away and told him, it seems like it's growing. Like, I can't wait this long. Dr. Keith's like, take him to the ER. We'll get a scan and we'll go from there. He called me back as soon as the scan was done and said, it looks like it's grown a little. I think maybe we just need to send you to PCH. You get admitted through the ER and we'll get this taken care of. And looking back now, I always wonder if it truly grew a little or if Dr. Keith was just trying to help me because he knew what a mess I was. And I mean, to this day, after your kid has cancer with Destiny, I'm so paranoid, but Dr. Keith is always the doctor that reassures me it's going to be fine. We'll do whatever we need to do. He's truly amazing.
Oh my gosh.
We got in.
Yeah. He sounds just like such a superhero to have on your team, just that like constant presence that you can return to. Like, what a gift.
Yeah, he was amazing. I'm so grateful that he was his doctor and now my daughter's doctor. After that, we went to PCH. We got admitted through the ER, like they said. We were back then there were two separate hospitals because they were just building the new one. So we were in the old side, and we couldn't get to the new side just yet because they wanted to see exactly what we were dealing with. So a couple days after we got there, Nathaniel got his biopsy done. We got the results. I mean, I can tell you, I prayed. I have never prayed so hard in my life that it was something else, anything else. A cyst, whatever it is not cancer. I remember the day that the doctor was supposed to get the results. I was waiting for her all morning, me and my mom. And my dad I think he went to get Nathaniel some food. We were just hanging around, waiting for her to come in the room to tell us something. And I saw her walk by, so I went up to her and I asked her, I said, did you get the results? And she said, I did, and I'll be in there to talk to you guys here shortly. And I knew that wasn't good news. Like, she would have told me immediately if it was, but I went back to the room and I waited. Then she ended up just calling this out, and she sent a nurse in there with my son to play with him while we talked. And we went and talked in the lobby, and she told us that it wasn't Ewing's, that it was osteosarcoma. And, but yeah, that they were going to be moving him to the new side of the hospital now, to the 7th floor, which was the cancer floor. And I'd meet with an oncologist there to start discussing our options and treatment. Yeah, that was probably one of the hardest days we had. The first initial shock, of course. And I remember after hearing that, I'm the type of person where I deal with stuff alone. I need just to be alone to process and whatever I need to do. And I definitely try not to let my son see me cry because I don't ever want him to be afraid of anything. I'll handle it and I'll take care of him and I'll deal with my own emotions. He doesn't need to carry that too. So I went down to the lobby and there was like this wolf that was in just a statue in the middle of the floor, and it was kind of hidden away. So I sat beside it and I just cried and cried, asked God, like, what can I do? And in that moment, I remember hearing God tell me in my heart, like, it's not over. And that was the first time he ever told me that. Definitely not the last, but those words brought so much comfort to me, knowing that he's right. Like, yes, he has cancer, but it doesn't mean that he has to pass away from it. It doesn't mean anything like that. Like, put your faith in God and let's see what happens. So that helped me a lot. I could pull myself together after that. I went up to the room, and when I got there, they were already starting to load up everything he had to get him to the other side of the hospital. So we moved at that point.
And how is Nathaniel at this point? Is he starting to ask any questions, or is he kind of just going along for the ride, or what was helping him during that part?
So at first he didn't know a whole lot. Me and my dad are very similar, but we butt heads. So he's like, we can't tell him. I'm like, we can't not tell him. Like, he's going to lose his hair. He's going to be sick. I can't lie to him. He won't trust me anymore. And my dad just, with all of us, he wants to protect us and he doesn't want us to be afraid. And so he didn't want to break it to him, but we did. I asked for help from a child life specialist actually at PCH. And she came in the room and she helped tell him that he has cancer and, what that means and what treatment looks like going forward. The hospital had great resources that we could use. So at that time, he was 7. He's just like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Yeah. What is his personality like? Like, what kind of kiddo at 7 was he?
He was a smart aleck. He definitely was a little adult in a tiny body. He was wise beyond his years. He was hilarious. He was so funny. And he could make light of any situation. Any situation was not a big deal. Even through his treatment, he never got sick. God really took care of him. He played and he laughed and mostly played video games. It wasn't until November when we had to reevaluate his wrist and see if they could save it or not, or if they were going to have to amputate at that point. That's when I won't say his attitude changed, because he never complains about any of his circumstances. I hardly ever saw him cry. But that's when it got a little harder for him. They did end up amputating in November of 2011. They couldn't save it. So when I met with the surgeon and he broke that to me, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to tell my son that. So I called his oncologist, who was just a couple miles down the road, and I asked him to help me tell him. So he said he would. We pulled Nathaniel in and we told him, this was his best chance, because at the time the cancer was only in his wrist. And unfortunately, the chemo that they were using at the time wasn't very effective on it. So they needed to cut off below his elbow down. He sat there in silence, didn't really say a whole lot. Dr. Williams said, I'm just going to give you guys a couple minutes by yourself. And he left the room and I said, baby, what's wrong? And he said, I'm going to lose my arm. I said, I know. I said, but you have to understand that it's better for you. This is how we're going to keep you here. This is how we're going to get rid of the cancer. And I'm not kidding. He shed 2 tears and he wiped them away. And he said, okay, that we can do that. And he said, it doesn't matter.
Wow.
My hand hurts anyways, and I don't need it. So, he's like always been so strong that I knew God was helping him, because there's no way you can break that kind of news to a 7-year-old and then be able to handle it. And he did. He handled it with grace.
Oh my gosh, I can't help but think that so much of the reason he handled that so well is because of you.
I'll give that to God. Because he was helping me.
You guys are a team.
I was a hot mess. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What an amazing kid.
He was remarkable.
So what was helping you through that time? And I know that's not the end of your story, the amputation, but if you can think back to those long days in the hospital and all the medications, like how did you get through those days?
Definitely my family and 100% God, because looking back now, I don't know how I survived. I was, like I said, I was 24. I was a baby myself. There were times that I was terrified, and every time I felt terrified and I would pray, God would give me this peace that I can't even put into words, that helped me get through it and helped Nathaniel get through it. So, those 2 things, my family is a huge support system. I have a huge family, and every one of them played a huge part in it. And God.
We'll be right back. Incentives work. They work in healthcare and they work with kids. Think about it. If hospitals provide free rides to patients, they show up on time for their doctor's appointments. Teachers use incentives to encourage academic achievement. Hope for Henry unites these truths to ignite the power of incentives to help pediatric patients do the things they need to do to get better. It works every day at hospitals around the country. Child life specialists are trained to use this program, and they're reporting that 58% of their patients don't need sedation for certain procedures, and 95% of their patients are using super rewards and having an overall improved patient experience. Kids at hospitals like the Cleveland Clinic, Inova Children's Hospital, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and so many more are feeling more cooperative, less anxious, and having a better patient experience because of super rewards, a state-of-the-art incentive program. To learn more about Hope for Henry, check out their website at www.hopeforhenry.org and bring super rewards to your hospital. Follow Hope for Henry and contact them through social media at Hope for Henry. And when you wrote to me earlier and we got to talk a little bit about Nathaniel's story, there was another thing that you kind of gave to God, that he was working on your behalf about, like, which hospital would actually treat him. And I can't imagine, like, the panic and just the phone calls that you have to go through with his insurance and all of that situation.
It was horrible. Yeah, when we first got to PCH, it was probably after he was on the cancer floor. It was maybe a couple days after being there. His insurance called and said, basically, this hospital, you're going to have to take him to Tucson. And I loved that hospital already. I loved the doctors. I loved the nurses. I loved the resources that were going to be available to him. I didn't want to move. I didn't. And I remember telling God, like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And I can't remember if I prayed to not go, but I know I told God I didn't want to go. And a couple days later, a lady called me, and I think her name was Athena. I'm pretty sure it was Athena. And I kind of stayed in touch with her throughout his whole story. And she called and said, we know that PCH is not in our network. However, you can take your son to whatever hospital you want, and we will pay for it. And that one blew me away. And there's no denying that God had a huge part in that, because hospitals do not do that. Insurances don't do that ever. They'll look for reasons not to pay for things. They don't tell you take them wherever you want, especially when they're out of network.
It gives you hope that there's, like, humans
yes.
behind all of these insurance companies when things like that happen. And we just need to hear more of that. I wish it could be like that for every family.
Me too. It was tough.
So take us after the amputation and what happened next in Nathaniel's story and your story.
So after the amputation, he went through a different type of chemo. They changed his chemo since they found, after biopsying the tumor, that it wasn't really killing it. They decided to change it. He did that treatment for a few months. In, I believe, March of 2012, they did a scan and they found a little cancer tumor on one of his lungs. They went in and they removed that, and he continued treatment until July of 2012. And then they said, we're done with treatment. We consider him kind of in remission. He'll get scans every 3 months at that point, and we'll just go from there. So his first scan was later in 2012, I want to say. No, it might have been January of 2013. He had another scan, and he had another tumor on his lung, so they removed it. May, right before Stephen and I got married, he had another scan, and that one was good. I mean, nothing showed in that scan. It was amazing. Great news right before our wedding. Nathaniel was then just turned 9. He was in the wedding. He was just your typical little boy. In July, well, it was the end of June, early July, we went to a camp. It was called Camp No Limits, and it's for kids missing limbs, and you get to hang out with other children that are missing either their legs, or, whatever it may be. And they kind of help them learn how to tie their shoes together. There's always like an older individual that is missing maybe just their hand, and they teach them how to tie their shoe one-handed. And it kind of helps that knowing that you're not alone, like give them some support. And Nathaniel, he has a very bad sense of humor, my child. We told him we were going to go to this camp, and he called it Camp No Limbs instead of No Limits. And he thought he was hilarious. Like,
it's kind of funny.
He just, like, that's the sense of humor he had. Like, I was like,
oh my gosh, creative.
Yes,
and witty.
He was very witty. So we went, and we left there. And since we were already in California, we thought, we'll go to SeaWorld, because he loved orca whales. And we were going to go to Legoland also. So we went, the first day we went to Legoland, that was July 2nd, 2013. Everything was amazing. He had a good time. July 3rd, we were going to get up and go to SeaWorld. So I was actually in the shower getting ready at the time. And my mom came in that Nathaniel wasn't responding. Turns out he was having a seizure, but it wasn't like a body shaking type of seizure. It's like a blank stare type of seizure. So we called an ambulance. They came and got him. While in the ambulance, they were trying to decide, okay, what hospital is going to take him? Where are we taking him? We sat there for a good 15 minutes trying to figure out where we're going. Finally, Rady's Children's Hospital called and said that they'd take him. We took him. They did a scan, and they called us out of the room like they did so many other times, and you just know that it's not good news, to tell us he had a brain tumor. I about lost it at that point. I tried to keep myself together. I immediately called his oncologist and let him know what was going on. At that point, they were moving him up to a room already to get him admitted, because he needed to have surgery. I told his oncologist, I didn't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? And he said, we're going to fly him back. We'll fly him back, and we will take care of this. And I just felt like he was supposed to be there for a reason. We had just traveled 8 hours to another state. It could have happened anywhere, and it happened here. And I just felt like we were supposed to be at Rady's for some reason. It turns out that the surgeon that was going to do his surgery was actually the surgeon that trained the one at PCH that would have done his surgery.
Wow.
So I was like, no, I want to stay here. So they decided, okay, well, while we wait, we're doing a full body scan. Let's make sure there's nothing anywhere else. They did a scan. Once again, we're pulled out of the room to tell us, he has a tumor in his hip, and he has one in his foot, and in his lung, and now in his brain, like 4 different places. The oncologist told us, there's no point to do surgery. We're going to send you home. It's spread at this point, basically. Like, she wasn't the nicest lady. We'll just go back to your doctor and let's see what they want to do. And that's when I really lost it, because I felt like God was telling me to be there, and they're kicking me out, and I can't control that. So I went to another room, and I just cried, and I told God, I can't make them let us stay. And I know I'm here for a reason. I know Nathaniel's here for a reason. So if we're supposed to stay, please make a way. And so that was another time he told me it's not over. We went back to the room. About an hour later, another doctor came in and said, look, we respect her opinion. However, he still needs surgery. We're meeting with some of our team right now to discuss what we're going to do, but we're not sending you home before we get his brain tumor out. So we stayed. He had his surgery.
Wow.
He woke up in his typical angry mood because he's hungry at that point, and he's thirsty, and they're trying to feed him ice chips, and he doesn't want ice chips.
What does he want? What is his after surgery? What does he crave?
He wanted Reese's Pieces. So the nurse came in, and I mean, he's giving them this death stare. And I was telling him, after surgery, he's pretty good. He's never thrown up. He's always eaten. He's really good. She's like, that's what the doctor's telling. Like, I can't do anything. I'm like, I understand. Can you just go talk to him? She ended up bringing the doctor in, and Nathaniel gave him one look, and he said, okay, he can eat. I was like, yeah, that's smart.
Oh my gosh. Nathaniel was in charge at that point.
He was. Yep. He knew what he wanted.
Wow. After brain surgery too. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, he's truly remarkable. He was a great kid.
And so you guys, how long did you end up staying at Rady Children's?
We stayed there probably another couple days after his surgery, and then we went back and we went straight to Phoenix Children's to get admitted there so that they could start discussing what we need to do at this point. He had another surgery on his lungs, and then he had radiation on his hip and on his head again, just to make sure that tumor wouldn't grow back. When I met with his doctor and I was telling him, we were talking about his brain tumor, he said the chances of a osteosarcoma going to your brain was less than 1%. So they never scanned his brain to know if he had anything. So we don't know exactly when he got it, but it was on his frontal lobe, I think they call it, on the right side.
Mm-hmm. So they weren't ever sure if it was osteosarcoma or something else, or just that they had never done this.
No,
they didn't do this.
It was.
Oh, okay.
No, now they kind of changed it, and now they scan, which is good. I mean, you kind of learn, I guess. Now they scan the kids to see if they have anything anywhere else too, and they don't just focus on their lungs. It's just in your lungs. That's a commonplace. Like, it usually just goes there, but for him, it didn't.
Got it. So would you like to talk with us about what happened after that, or would you like to focus on talking about your childhood cancer foundation that you've made? What would you like to do from here? I want to be very, I only want you to share what you're comfortable sharing.
I'm good with anything, honestly. I will say, I forgot to mention, after Nathaniel had his amputation, I remember I told you he was into video games. I think I put it on my list. He loved video games. That was his life. I mean, typical little boy. So when he got his arm amputated, he tried to negotiate with the doctors. Like, can you do it on a Wednesday and not on a Monday because a new game releases on Tuesday? And they're like, no, sorry, we can't do that. So he was kind of irritated about that. But after he got, I felt that's when he got kind of more depressed. He started just watching YouTube and watching other kids play video games. And that was super depressing for me.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I said, do you want to go see about getting fitted for an arm now? And he got all excited. He's like, yeah, I really want to go do that. When we got there, I guess I didn't realize that I should have explained to him that it wouldn't be like his real hand, that it kind of just opens and closes. When we got there and he tried it on, you could just see the defeat in his face. Like, this is not what I thought. While we sat there and they were kind of talking and ordering what he needed, I was looking up in Phoenix to see if there was any place that we could go that made like a custom controller, something that he wanted to use that was designed for him that he would like to play with, because he didn't like the one we initially got him. We went to a place called Evil Controllers. I don't even know if it's open anymore, but we went in there and we started talking to them, and they were the nicest people I have ever met. They were young kids. Like, you could tell they loved gaming. They talked to Nathaniel and they're like, we really just make custom controllers, like change the plates, make them pretty. He's all, but we'll figure something out for you. Like, do not worry about it. We're going to design something for you. I promise you it's going to be okay. And they gave him a bag and a beanie. And then the whole ride home, the whole drive, he just talked about how nice these people were and how they're going to help him and it's going to be okay. And things that we have told him numerous times, but obviously he needed it from someone else. We went home that night. He picked up his regular controller, the one he had, and taught himself how to play one-handed. He never had to order a custom controller. He just needed that assurance from somebody. other than us.
Oh, wow. Nathaniel.
He
What
was
an amazing guy.
he's
Whoa.
truly
To figure that
amazing.
out and like have the drive to do that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I wish you could have met him. He was remarkable. Like, that doesn't even describe what he was. He was great.
So, after you said he had radiation on his foot, or was it his hip?
He
or
had
both?
it on his hip and his head.
On his head. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that treatment go for?
So that one went for probably like a couple months. And then he got another tumor in his lungs. And when they went in to get this one, unfortunately, they cut too close to the tumor and it busted in his chest. So they tried to get all the cancer cells out, but obviously you can't see that. They tried to clean as well as they could. But after that, it just spread like wildfire. It was bad. November came around, and that was the point that I felt like maybe we needed to call hospice and try and get him some extra pain medicine or whatever that looks like, make him comfortable. But I was still praying. I was like, God's going to give us a miracle. I just know it. So I continued to pray, and I just wanted to make him comfortable in the meantime. December 7th rolls around, and he has all these popped like blood vessels on his leg. And I called his hospice nurse, and that's when she broke it to us that his organs were starting to shut down, and he didn't have that much time left. She thought a couple days, and at this point, Nathaniel was sleeping, all day long. He didn't wake up very often, if at all. And I remember telling God, whatever you decide is, I know it's best for my son, and I will live with it. But if you're going to take him back, I need you to wake him up. Like, I need a few days of just being normal and him being awake that I can see him again. Like, I haven't heard his voice in, it's probably like a week at that point. A couple days later, he woke up like nothing. The first words out of his mouth were root beer. He wanted root beer. So we got him root beer. He had really good days up until even the day he passed away. It was Christmas Eve of 2013. He was awake most of the day. He wasn't in a lot of pain. He was pretty good. But that evening was when he started having trouble breathing, and I just knew in my heart that was it. I called his nurse. It started around like 8:15. By 8:47, he passed away. Called his nurse. She took forever to get there. I didn't even call my other doctors, Dr. Jones and Dr. Keith, but they showed up at my house later to check on us. That I can't even describe. In that moment, I remember putting on his oxygen so that he said he couldn't breathe, so I was trying to help him. And I wasn't crying. I refused to cry while he was in that moment. I did not want him scared. I did not want him terrified. I wanted him to be okay. So I remember just talking him through it. We were waiting for the nurse, and when he left, I can't say I've ever experienced someone dying before, but when he left, you just knew. You felt it probably before he even stopped breathing. You felt that he left. And that's when I cried. And that's when I told God, like, please, like, send him back healed. Like, if this is going to be our miracle, this is it. This is like the only chance we have. Like, please send him back healed. I prayed for probably like 30 minutes. And then I came to the understanding that was not what was going to happen. And I remember telling God, like, I'm never going to hear him say mom again. What am I supposed to do? He was my only child at the time. And in that moment, I had this very clear vision of Nathaniel. I couldn't hear any of the commotion going on around me anymore. I only saw Nathaniel. And I saw him standing in the clouds, with somebody, and I knew it was Jesus. I didn't get to see his face, but I knew who he was standing with, but I was focused on Nathaniel. And he was yelling, "Mom, Mom." And I looked at him, and he saw me look at him, and he waved. And that was it. But he was whole. He had both hands. And yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I needed that though. And God knew he knew I needed it.
Wow. Nathaniel knew that you needed it too. It sounds like.
He did.
Yeah.
For sure.
So Nathaniel's story didn't end there and still is not over because his wonderful mom has started a foundation in his name. Will you tell us about what you guys do and who you support?
Yes. So it took me a long time to get here. I'm not going to lie. It took about 8 years. And
yeah.
But we started a foundation. It's called Nathaniel's Childhood Cancer Foundation, of course. In the logo, there's an orca whale because he loved orcas, and that was his little friend that he carried everywhere. So, of course, we have to have a whale in the logo. We are focused on a couple different things. First, raising awareness for childhood cancer. There is no awareness at all. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and most people don't know that. And it's not any fault of theirs. There's no awareness. There's not like breast cancer. People spend September getting ready for October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we kind of just bypass these children and their families. So we really want to try and change that. This year, we got 2 proclamations signed, one in my hometown by the city mayor. And then we got Governor Ducey. He sent us one as well for the state of Arizona. So every year, we're going to continue to do that and hopefully go to different cities and try and make this as big as possible. Our dream is that one day September will be splattered in gold, just like it's splattered in pink in October. You'll be able to go into a store and pick up a gold pen or a Fight Like a Kid shirt or some gold shoes, anything. We just want, we want it to be just as big. These kids can't fight for themselves. Adults have to help. And that's truly why breast cancer has such great funding. And it's because of all the awareness around it. So we really want to change that for childhood cancer. So that's one of our many goals. We also provide bags full of just fun kid stuff to children battling cancer. We put like fidget spinners or just fun things that kids like right now that can keep them occupied in the hospital room. There's 3 different bags.
Love it.
There's one that's a standard pack. It's called a warrior pack. And then there's a custom one. The custom pack are for kids like my son, where in the beginning he was under isolation. It's like quarantine kind of. He couldn't leave his room. He had to stay there all day, all night. He couldn't really have a whole lot of visitors. All the amazing resources PCH had, like the little dogs that come in that you can pet, the playroom. He couldn't use any of that. So we had to bring his gaming system with us every time we went to the hospital. So for those kids under true isolation, we want to give them like an iPad or maybe a Nintendo Switch, something that they can use in their room and keep. So they get a little bit more than the standard pack, but it will be more custom for them.
I love that. That's so incredibly thoughtful and such an important thing to note that there are some kids in the hospital who don't get to engage in all of the fun things like others.
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, the dogs are so cute too. I mean, of course, any kid that sees it walking by wants to pet it and to tell my son, "No, sorry, cat." Like that was super depressing. So we wanted to change that. Oh, and then we have a sibling pack too.
Oh my gosh, cool.
So that one is for obviously the siblings. And we thought it would be nice to include something for them because oftentimes, and not on purpose, obviously, but when your child is diagnosed with some serious illness, you've put all your focus on that child. And Nathaniel, I was fortunate because I only had Nathaniel, but I can only imagine how other kids feel because, I mean, devoted to this child getting healthy and making sure they're safe, and your focus shifts to that child. And I feel like siblings feel left out and maybe not as important. So we want to make sure that they're included as well. So we're going to give them a pack, and it won't have like the camera and stuff, but it will still be a pack. It's called a protector's pack, since they're their siblings' protector, and just something to include them so that they know that we know that they're important, and that I don't know. I can't imagine what they feel like. I can't imagine.
You're doing so many amazing things. How can people get in touch with you or follow along with your foundation and just, kind of see where you're at and support you guys?
So we have a website and we have a Facebook page as well as an Instagram page, and it's nathanielccf.org for his website. And for Facebook, it's just facebook.com/nathanielccf.
Okay,
and all my contact information's on there. So send us a message.
And Nathaniel's cute pictures.
Oh,
he's so cute with all those orca whales. And
he loves orcas.
Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing what you did today. It takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage. And I know you didn't get a choice. You have to have that. So I thank you very much for being this honest and giving about your story. And I know you're going to help so many other families by sharing. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Child Life On Call podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor, and you can follow us at Child Life On Call on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please rate and review to make it easier for other families to find us. We have cute merch available at www.bonfire.com/store/Child Life On Call, and you can listen to more episodes and find resources at childlifepodcast.com.